Speak Student!
It is I. Pronouns with to be. A la Shmoop. All right, this is the most important day of Phoebe's life. She clutches her cell phone, waiting for the call. Then it rings, and she answers. A deep voice asks,
"Is this Phoebe Williams?"
It is I.
Phoebe replies breathlessly. Okay, wait just 1 minute. Phoebe, this is the day of days, the moment of moments, and you lead with, "It is I?" Well, Phoebe's grammar isn't wrong here. In fact, her grammar is perfect. But come on, it is I? This is the 21st century, not Regency England.
Run away!
The problem is, the grammar rule for pronouns with to be truly is stuck in the past.
Run away again!
Here's the rule. When a pronoun follows a linking verb, the pronoun should be in the subjective case. Ugh, a lot of words there. You know what that means? All right, well, let's go back and start with the linking verbs. Linking. What are they? Well, they're verbs that are less about action and more about connecting words together. For example, run, jump, scream, dance, and explode are action verbs. They are things people do, and largely in Bruce Willis movies. Is, seem, and appear, however, are linking verbs. They're more about describing a state of being than an action of like doing something. As for the whole subjective case pronoun thing, well, there are 3 pronoun cases. The possessive case, where pronouns express ownership, mine, mean, mine, blah, blah, blah. The objective case, where pronouns are the objects of prepositions or verbs. Example, example, example. See right there. And the subjective case, where pronouns are used as the subjects of sentences. Like subjective case pronouns include I, you, he, she, it, we, they, and who. Normally, subjective case pronouns appear at the beginning of sentences. For example, the subjective case pronoun she starts the sentence, she answered the phone. And the subjective case pronoun we starts the sentence, we heard her scream for joy at the good news. However, in the case of this one grammar rule, when a pronoun follows a linking verb, the pronoun should be in the subjective case. We're going to see subjective case pronouns at the end of sentences. Got it? A lot to digest there. And now that we're all clear on our definitions, it's example time. Woo! If 2 little boys are found in the middle of a mess of glass at Whole Foods, and the store manager asks which child was responsible for sending 12 dozen bottles of organic root beer crashing to the floor, good grammar requires that the boys point to one another and say, "It was he." If a hostess at a crowded pizza parlor yells that a table for 10 is ready for the Shreveport Wizards and Warriors Syndicate, she's likely to hear a bunch of nerds holler back, "It is we." All right, proper grammar also dictates that we use subject pronouns after the words than and as. Here's why. Say we have the sentence, Nina was more excited to go hunting for ghosts in the old asylum than they were. Sounds good, right? Well, it's a perfectly reasonable sentence, but what if we shorten it by chopping off that last word? So that we get, Nina was more excited to go hunting for ghosts in the old asylum than they. Or what if we have the sentence, my little brother wants to see the Dallas Cowboys lose as much as I do. Again, here's a sentence that sounds great to the ears until we hack off that last do. So that we get, my little brother wants to see the Dallas Cowboys lose as much as I. These sentences involving Nina and the Cowboys hating kid brothers sound normal when they're long, and out of date when they're slightly shorter. But the shorter versions of these 2 sentences explain why there's a grammar rule that insists on placing subject pronouns after than and as. Now that we've drilled home the rule that pronouns following linking verbs should be in the subject case, and that subject pronoun should also be used after the words than and as, it's time for some good news. This rule is not as hard and fast as it seems. If Grandma Betty can't make out which boy in the picture of the Youth League baseball team is her grandson, grammarians won't flip out if the kid points to his likeness and says, "That is me," instead of "That is I." If 4 girls are brought before the principal and asked to fess up to writing a burned book, the English language will not die if the queen bee leads off with, "Well, they're guiltier than me," instead of, "They're guiltier than I." See, even grammarians recognize that placing subject pronouns after linking verbs and the words than and as sounds wrong, stilted, absurdly proper, and just plain odd. So when we find ourselves in casual conversation or if we're engaged in informal writing, it's totally cool to break this particular grammar rule. Hey, that rhymes. And now back to Phoebe, who has just learned Not that she got into Harvard, but that she gets to be drum major next year. Well, different strokes for different folks. We love you, Phoebe.
Run away!
Subscribe to check out more equally fantabulous videos. You should see the subscribe button just below this one. If you're having trouble locating it, we recommend you watch our video, How to Find the Subscribe Button.